ready to glue the veneer sheets to the substrate. I've got my sheets all ready. I've marked the top end of the sheets. I've marked the center line of the sheets, and I've marked where those center lines line up on the substrate. I've also marked the outline of the sheet so I can position the sheets the correct position both front and back, thinking that later I'm going to cut through the substrate and I want to make sure that I don't have any place where there's no veneer. I've got my glue, I've got my roller, I've got some pieces of veneer tape so I can tape the sheets in position so they don't shift when I'm putting them in the bag. And I've got a spritzer bottle of water in case the veneer starts curling up due to the glue. I can spritz the other side of the veneer and it'll flatten back down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue onto the substrate but not on the veneer. Once I've got the glue spread, I'll place a piece of veneer, then I'll go ahead and I'll put a few pieces of tape on to hold it in place, flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. This particular glue is still the Better Bond cold press veneer adhesive. This is the light color glue, so that if there is any bleed through, it won't darken this nice light curly maple. With the Better Bond adhesive, you should leave your work clamped up in the bag for 45 minutes to an hour. For the glue to set, it's been in here an hour and a half, so that's plenty of time. We'll go ahead and we'll cut off the vacuum and remove the work from the bag, and then we'll let it sit for another 4 to 6 hours. Actually, it'll be overnight because it's the end of the day. And to cure. And let's hope that this turned out right. Tapping the veneer to see if there's any hollow spots. Looks like we got a pretty good bond on this one. Just give you a good look at how this looks. You can see the tape is still on there. Later on, after this is good and cured, I'll go ahead and wet the tape and just peel it off. good shape. There's a couple of ways to get the tape off the veneer. One is to sand it off. I'm a little hesitant to sand veneer more than I have to because it is so thin and I don't want to sand through. Another way is just to reactivate the glue and the tape by getting the tape saturated with water. I'm just tabbing, using this little rag just to put a little water on here and try not to get too much water on the veneer itself because I don't want the veneer expanding. So just dab the water on. If you don't have a lot of fingernails like me, you can use a little plastic card. This is one of these little credit cards that you get in the mail. They're not real, but they are plastic. And that can help you out in getting the tape off. Once the tape is saturated, it should pull off in a nice piece. Just go slowly. Comes off cleanly. There may be a little residue left over, but tape ripped there, so I wet that a little more. Might not have been saturated enough. Try coming in from the other direction. And then you need to, stuff sticks to my fingers, I can't get it into the garbage can. Okay, then you need to wet the cross pieces where the tape was covering so that they're nice and saturated. It doesn't matter if a little bit of residue remains behind. We are going to be doing some sanding. I just didn't want to do a lot of sanding just to get the tape off. I like the idea of one of these plastic cards for this because I don't have to worry about gouging the veneer like I would if I was using, say, a steel paint scraper. I think I'd hesitate before I used a steel tool just because the veneer is thin and it could gouge through. Okay, a little bit left there I'm not going to worry about because I want to get the veneer dry again. So I've got my iron handy. I'm just going to go ahead and put a little heat to it. help it dry out because I don't want the water distorting the panel. And depending on the kind of glue you use, some glues are water soluble and you want to be careful that you don't reactivate the glue. I'm not too worried in this case, but if I was using, say, hide glue is actually will dissolve in water. Again, my iron is on a medium heat. Right now it's a little below the wool and silk setting. I try not to make this an exact science, but I don't want it to be too warm. Don't want to scorch the veneer. Don't want to reactivate any glue. But I do want to dry out the panel. And the little bitty pieces of tape that are left behind, they'll come off in the final sanding. Here we go. That panel's ready to be trimmed and edged.